I've looked at life from both sides now. Both sides now. How often have I seen both sides? There I was, meeting with a 28-year-old woman there in the hospital. She'd been admitted because of severe, violent mood swings. I met with her, I listened to her, I evaluated her, and at the end of the evaluation, she turns to me and said, Dr. Gooderson, you are the greatest psychiatrist I've ever met. You took so much time, you listened to me, I feel like you really bonded with me. You are absolutely amazing. I can't imagine a psychiatrist who would be better than you. So the next day I come, I see her. It's quite clear to me she has a significant psychiatric history. She's had all sorts of problems for many, many years. She usually doesn't wind up taking her medications, which might be helpful. I say to her, why don't we try a medication? We'll do a low dosage, and maybe that can help with your mood swings so they aren't so dramatic. At which point she paused, and then she blurted out, Dr. Gooderson, I can't believe you're saying this to me. I can't believe this. You're terrible. You're just like all the other psychiatrists. Medications, medications, medications. Get out of my room. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the defense mechanism called splitting. I've seen it many times. She comes to my office. She's 22 years old. She says, I have met the man of my dreams. He is perfect for me, Dr. Gooderson. This is great. We went out a couple times and I know this is the guy. The next week she comes to my office. She says, I can't believe the way he spoke to me. He said something to me and it was so unkind. You know what? He's manipulative. I don't want him anymore. And then there's the 25-year-old fellow who is in graduate school. He comes to my office and he says, I got an A+ on my exam. I'm a genius. I'm so smart. I feel so invigorated. And then a couple weeks later, he comes back and lo and behold, he didn't do so well in the next exam. And now he's saying, I'm a failure. There's no future for me. All or nothing thinking, black and white thinking, either all good or all bad. So what's going on here? Why does this happen to people? Well, I think what's going on is people have a hard time seeing what they perceive as contradictions, because we human beings, we're not perfect. We all have our imperfections. And healthy relationships are when we can see, when we connect with the goodness in somebody. And even when there's moments where they are not so good, when they may be a bit imperfect, nonetheless, we're able to get past that and be able to still embrace all of them. They're good and they're not so good. That's a mature person. That's a healthy person. But for other people, more primitive, so to speak, they still see the world in all good or all bad. As a result, these people have a tremendously difficult time navigating life in the workplace and in relationships. Probably the diagnosis most connected to this kind of thinking is what we call borderline personality disorder. So how should we look at things? I think first we need to know that life is paradox, that we can have two different things that can coexist. In fact, we human beings, we have these two different parts to us. We have one part which yearns for that which is transcendent, connected to the divine, wanting kindness and truth and goodness. And then we have the other side, the more physical side, the more ego-driven and self-oriented side. It's a battle. We have a battle surging inside of us all the time. But in fact, it's a beautiful battle. It's the way life is supposed to be. To illustrate further, I once read a story about a young man. He would pray every morning. And when he would pray, he would feel a strong sense of transcendence. But sometimes he would fall, he would fail, and he would wind up having not positive thoughts, ugly thoughts come into his head right in the middle of his prayer. So he turned to his sage and he said, I'm a terrible person. Look at me. Look what happens to me. The sage wisely said, let's go into this dark room and we're going to take a white candle and a black candle. The white candle is going to shine very kind, beautiful light. And the black candle, what's going to happen? It's going to shine even more powerful and stronger, warmer light. And these two lights, they can flicker together and they can together bring even more light into the world. The young man, I think he got the message that, yeah, we do have our failings from time to time, but from those failings, powerful things can happen and we can rise to the occasion. We can better ourselves and then we can even bring more light into the world. My friends, the world is not perfect. We're not perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. In the words of the great theologian and baseball player Yogi Berra, he said, if the world was perfect, it wouldn't be. Fantastic. Speaking of baseball, is a great story about perfection and imperfection. Because back in 2010, the Detroit Tigers pitcher, Armando Galarraga, he was pitching what looked like was going to be a perfect game. He had retired 26 batters in a row, and he was down to the very last batter. Well, that batter hit a ground ball, and the ball was thrown to first, beating the runner by a fraction of a second. 27 outs. A perfect game. But the umpire blew it. The umpire said he was safe. And the game, which we thought was perfect, became imperfect. Or was it? Because what subsequently happened was absolutely incredible. The pitcher, Galarraga, he kept his composure. He kept his cool, and then he took care of the next batter, and the game was over. The umpire, after the game, he went to the dugout, and he looked at the videotape, and he realized, yes, I made a mistake. And so he did what umpires hardly would ever do. He went to the pitcher and he apologized. He said he was sorry. Galarraga reported afterwards, in a certain way, I felt more sorry for the umpire than I felt for myself. Perfect game became imperfect. But then that imperfection, what brought out was incredible moral response, moral courage from both the pitcher and from the umpire. And that, my friends, that's what life is all about. We live in imperfection, and how we deal with, how we respond to the inevitable, constant imperfections of ourselves and others is what makes all the difference. If we can rise to the point where we can be more in touch with our essence, our soul, our goodness, well, that's fantastic, but that's very difficult to achieve all the time. And if we can rise to the point and see that in others, see that they have a soul, they have a connection, they have goodness and truth inside of them at their very deepest level, that would be a wonderful thing as well. One caveat, of course, there's those people who've suffered the worst of the worst, abuse, sexual, physical, neglect. And certainly in those cases, we can't simply say, oh yeah, look at the goodness in your perpetrator. In those cases, toxicity needs to be extricated. But for most of the world, most of the time, we live in a world where there is good and there is bad, there is good and there's not so good. There's imperfection. And when we grasp that, when we absorb that, then our life takes on a whole different viewpoint. Both sides now. I look at life from both sides now, from up and down and still somehow. It's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.